So every year, the Christmas extravaganza gets bigger and bigger and bigger.
It was here, in all the chaos and business of moving into a new building, working with another church, trying to keep this whole thing afloat. We may have overlooked, an unnamed party may have overlooked the Christmas extravaganza promo this year. And it's done December 8th. And it's currently,
It's 23rd.
it's 23rd.
Hey, Jen, conference room, 5 minutes. D, in the conference room, 5 minutes. Mark, conference room, 5 minutes. Okay. All right, everybody else. Conference room, 5 minutes. We completely spaced the promo for the Christmas extravaganza. It's the biggest thing we do every year. So, like, I guess it'll be good. Okay, so I know, we don't have a conference room yet. But guys, Christmas extravaganza, like, it's the biggest thing we do every year. Like, it's the biggest Christmas, like, I feel like we're almost slipping through the cracks. Like, what's going on? Okay, alright, I know we got a lot to do, but this is Christmas extravaganza. We've got to get this going. We've got to have a great promo. Like, it's bigger, it's better, it's got to be the most amazing thing, because it's the most amazing thing we do every year. So let's get after this, alright guys? I don't know, like, it's the biggest thing we do, it's amazing every year. Do we even need the promo? But Jen is apparently a firm believer in good PR. So
So there's that. As if we don't have enough to do here.
Yeah.
All right, let's get to work.
Let's get to it.
Okay, so for the Christmas extravaganza, the sanctuary will be ready, main level bathroom is ready.
Okay.
Everything else, not yet.
Okay, so we were checking on the insurance, Danny, about that stuff. We're not sure if we can get away with this human Christmas tree thing again this year or not. It might be a liability, but actually we need to ask Mark. He does this all the time. He's really good. All right, let's look.
They think I'm busy all the time, but the truth is they totally freak me out.
I don't know what the big deal is. I mean, we've done a Christmas extravaganza. This is going to be our 4th one. And I don't know why they say making a promo is that difficult, because it's just not. It's super fun. Have you heard of all the things we've done in the past? And did you hear what we're doing this year? So one year we had an 18-foot charcuterie board. Yeah, 18 feet. Then we've done like Christmas trivia games. We've done Christmas karaoke. We decorated gingerbread houses. We did a human Christmas tree. Oh, Just Nuts was amazing, by the way. And of course, everybody loves the animal games. So one year the wolves won, last year the cats won, and those poor donkeys, they just couldn't keep up.
All right, I think it's gonna work this time. How's everybody doing? All right, let's change this light stuff to actually be able to see one another and not be like, I was around the campfire. So, hey, so great to be with you this morning. My name is Brandon. I get to serve as one of the leaders here, and thank you for putting up with sort of our halfway put together things today. But how many of you guys are excited about Christmas extravaganza number 4? I am. Remember that next week will be online only, so if you show up here or you show up at the Walnut campus, you're going to be cold outside because the door's going to be locked. Ain't nobody going to be there. Also, I wanted to just kind of, here's what I want to do. I think it's important. We did a little bit of this at the Walnut campus. Actually, we started calling it the Legacy Campus. Story Church Legacy Campus. We did this a little bit when we had a couple of people come together and sort of share some of their memories there and what had happened. And so we wanted to do a little bit of that today as well. Because we feel like it's important to celebrate. We've got good things in store ahead of us, right? So it's a good thing to celebrate. In fact, really, the community does two things really well. We celebrate and we commiserate. When we want to celebrate, you want to grab your friends and say, hey, guess what God did? Look what's happening in my life. And when you got something difficult going on, you want to grab your friends and go, hey, I need some help right now, right? So we celebrate with one another, we commiserate with one another. And one of the things that we do in the American church, one of the things that we don't do very well in the American church is lament. It's okay to be sad sometimes. There's chapters of the Bible about being sad. Like, anybody know what the shortest verse of the Bible is? Jesus wept. Jesus had emotions. God made us with emotions. So it's okay for us to feel different things about what's going on. It's okay to be excited about what's to come and be nervous about what's to come. It's okay to be excited about what's to come and miss what was. There's been some great things that have happened. How many of you guys got the text last night about, and if you didn't, please fill out a Connect card today so we can make sure that we've got you in that system. But we sent out a text last night and said, hey, we can't wait to see you, and we would love for you to reply with a couple of your favorite memories. And so I'm just going to read a couple of the memories that we had. Justin, you said, my favorite memory of the old place was the first Christmas party. It was actually the second one, but that's okay. I'm not going to hold it against you. But at the Christmas party, we were blindfolded in the gym and everyone making animal noises to find one another. LOL, I'll never forget it. And Jen was just like, I'm just telling you, like, it is a sight to behold. It is fantastic. So again, do not miss the Christmas extravaganza. When is it? December 8th, what time? Where at? Legacy Campus, that's right. My dad said Storyteller Sundays, and there we go. All right, campfire again. In the fire right now. And the MOI Thanksgiving. We just did our third MOI Thanksgiving dinner last Sunday. Thank you for everyone who served at that. It was a great success. Like Jennifer Smith, who's one of the leaders of that organization, her favorite memory was the first one. And she said that they do all kinds of events all the time throughout the year. They've been doing it for 10 years now. And she said, so she shows up to events and, in her work clothes, because she knows that she's got to get in there and get tables ready, put decor out, do all the things. And she showed up like that for the event the first event we did here. And she's like, it's all done. This is the first time in all of her event planning career where an organization had done everything for her before they got there. That's you guys. Good job. Linda Jones, who is the Robinson's grandmother, she just sent me 3 pictures. And they're pictures from, I can't remember, it was 3 or 4 years ago. We did that first Christmas Eve service, and the little Robinson kids, each of them with a little Christmas candle holding it up. The Christmas candle lighted services were those ones for them. Other people were talking about the first Christmas extravaganza, which was meant to be in here, but we were in the middle of COVID and everything spiked, and we're like, it's not really responsible to put a bunch of people together during cold and flu season in the middle of a global pandemic. So we're like, what do? So we just pivoted, which is what we do sometimes, right? We just pivot. And so we did a parking lot party instead, and everyone was in their cars, and we Facebook Lived it. We did games and contests, and people had to decorate their cars, and there were prizes for that. And we did like a reverse gift giving where we gave everyone money to go give to someone else for Christmas. So there was things like that. And I got a couple of other index cards here this morning. My family's first service and how Story Church welcomed us. Did I get all of my coffee couple? Oh, they're in my pocket. The harvest praise in the parking lot that we had about, 7 churches, is that right, Dee? With 7 different churches come together in worship teams, and we did a big worship event in the parking lot. Ashley, your baptism, you mentioned, both of you guys said that the time that your dad saved a kid from choking on a donut. No, for real, a kid was dying in the back, and Joaquin came in with his massive biceps and did the Heimlich. I'm surprised he didn't break the kid's ribs. That dude was just strong. Pastor Danny said, "I will never forget the immediate sense of family here. I instantly felt loved and accepted as one of the family, as if I had been part of it forever." And it's really hard to read with those lights coming in at me this way. I'm going to do it this way. Never mind, I can't read his handwriting. Love you, Danny. Natty said, "A memory is my first time singing worship and being here to see everyone worshiping, crying, and just living in the presence of God. It was surreal." So there's a ton of these, and I think we're going to find a way to sort of memorialize and capture these moving forward. Like, one of the ways that I know to do that is to give them to Jen, so that I don't lose them. Can I get anybody in that? And as Kim was in there, one of the things that she said, "Who can forget being an Easter bunny and bouncing through the Easter service?" I didn't know that was happening. It was a surprise to me. It was very joyful and surprising. Next time, let's just plan it. Cool. All right. So I just think it's important for us to remember these things. Like, raise your hand if there's been a moment in this building where you sense the presence of God. That's all that matters. All the other things are great. All the other things are good. We're grateful for all those, for the baptisms and for the stories and for the salvations and for people becoming free. And one of my favorite memories is getting to pray the prayer of salvation with you, Stephen, in my office. And then getting to baptize you right here. Getting to baptize my son Jackson in this room and his birth mom and his 2 twin birth brothers on the same day. There's been some really beautiful and amazing things. And what I want to say is that's good. It's okay to sort of have a moment where we feel like we're going to miss that. It's okay to be disappointed, maybe to be moving into a different space. But what I want to stress that all of those good things, I truly believe the best is yet to come. Amen? The best is yet to come. And so, in order to see what is coming, sometimes we have to look at what was, right? There is a reason that your windshield is bigger than your rearview mirror, right? And I wish most people would try that, but never mind. Those are my issues, my highway issues, my bad. But sometimes we experience life in the windshield, but we understand it in the rear view. And so we want to look at things, we want to remind ourselves of what we've been doing so that we can better understand where God's calling us. Does that make sense? And so the last several weeks we've been in this series on loving your neighbor, and we talked about Moses. Remember we talked about Moses and God asking him, "What's in your hand?" And that those hands reminding him of the things that he failed, those things he wasn't capable of doing on his own, and maybe the things that he was guilty of doing. And God had to get him to a place where he was ready to move ahead and use what was in his hand that God had given him. We talked about Elijah a couple of weeks ago and his hands and what he had done and the ways that God had spoken to him differently than the ways that God had spoken to Moses. So he had to understand a new way of understanding what God was saying so that he could live into the mission that God had given him. We talked about the idea of what's in your heart versus what's in your hand. And I want to talk this morning a little bit more about a couple other people's hands. All right? So in Luke 19, I think I can put this on the screen. Again, we're figuring this technology out as we go a little bit. We don't want the countdown. Nope. There we go. All right. Actually, I don't need that one yet. We're almost there. So Luke 19, verses 1 through 7. Jesus entered Jericho and made his way through the town. There was a man there named Zacchaeus. Remember that song? Zacchaeus was a wee little man, a wee little man was he. He was a wee little man. I think he was Irish. So there was a man there named Zacchaeus. He's the chief tax collector of the region. And because he was wee, not like because they say wee, not because Irish people are short necessarily, okay? Stop being heightistic. That's heightism. There was a man there named Zacchaeus. He was the chief tax collector of the region, and he became very rich. He tried to get a look at Jesus, but he was too short. Everybody say too short. No, we don't listen to that around here. He was too short to see over the crowd, so he ran ahead and climbed a sycamore fig tree beside the road, for Jesus was going to pass that way. When Jesus came by, he looked up at Zacchaeus and called him by name. Zacchaeus, quick, come down. I must be a guest in your home today. Can you imagine that? You are the enemy of your people. No one likes you because you've been stealing from them as a career. And then this leader that everyone is celebrating, that everyone is excited about, that everyone wants to come and see, everyone wants to come and hear, that guy invites Zacchaeus to his home? So he quickly climbed down and took Jesus into his house in great excitement and joy. I'll bet. But the people were displeased. He has gone to be the guest of a notorious sinner, they grumbled. See, Zacchaeus' hands, small as they were, he was a wee little man, small hands. Some of you did that on the ride home. Those hands had stolen from God's people. Those hands had given money to the enemy and used that for relationship, for personal gain. Those hands had the blood of his people on them. And yet, when Jesus met him, he said, I got to dine in your house tonight. And those hands that had abused power for personal gain, and it chose them to give half away. And Jesus said about him, come down, for I must stay at your house. Now I can quote this scripture. But Zacchaeus stood up and asked and said to the Lord, Lord, here now I give half of my possessions to the poor, and if I've cheated anybody out of anything, I will pay back 4 times the amount. Jesus said to him, today salvation has come to this house, because this man too is a son of Abraham. For the Son of Man came to seek and save the what? Oh, he didn't come to seek and save the Baptists? Or the Wesleyans? Or the Catholics? Or the Pentecostals? Or the Republicans? Or the Democrats? Well, actually, you can probably say both of them are lost. He came to seek and save the lost. He said it's not the healthy that need a doctor, but the sick. It wasn't the people that were getting it right. It wasn't the priests. It wasn't the people who were living their lives according to the Levitical code. It was Zacchaeus who was stealing from those people that Jesus came to save. How many of y'all have been a Zacchaeus at one point or another in your life? And if you didn't raise your hand, you're a liar. So now you're a Zacchaeus, so go ahead and raise your hand. And there's a trap here. I don't want us to fall into the trap that the people fell into of judgment and comparison. It's sort of like that parable where there's all of the different workers. The owner of the vineyard went and hired people in the morning, and they went and hired people at noon, and then he went and hired people at the end of the day, and then he paid all of them the same amount of money. And the people at the end of the day, or excuse me, the people at the beginning of the day said about the people at the end of the day, like, that's not fair. We worked the whole day in the sun. Why do they get as much as we do? We should get more. They should get less. We can fall into the trap of comparison. We can fall into the trap of thinking that we did it right and that person is doing it wrong. And it would have been very easy for the people who were following Jesus to look at Zacchaeus and say, no, he's doing it wrong. Matter of fact, he took my check. He took stuff from my family. He took stuff from my family's family, from my friends. He took from me, and you're gonna honor him by going to his house? Don't fall into the trap of comparison. Because as it turns out, Zacchaeus was incredibly generous. When he figured out that what he was doing was wrong, he was willing to say, here's half of everything I own. Not only half of everything I own, but if anybody else still feels like they're wrong, I'll pay it back 4 times. That's some serious interest. We feel good if people bring our car back and kept gas in the tank. Didn't wreck it. I'll get to that. I want to tell you about one more set of hands. Maybe you heard about the parable of the talents, right? So these 3 guys get given a bunch of money each, and each of them has a different amount. And they're called to care for that amount, to steward that amount while their master is out of town. The master comes back and wants to settle accounts, and the first guy is like, hey man, you gave me 5, I got you 5 back. And the second guy is similar. He says, hey man, you got me 2, and now I doubled you up, and now you have 2 more. Both are praised for their work, right? Well done. You've been faithful with little, I'll make you faithful with, you've been in charge of little, I'll make you in charge of much. Both are praised for the work of their hands. But the third set of hands in this story has a different outcome. The third set of hands had taken 1 talent, carefully wrapped it in cloth, buried it, make sure it didn't get dirty, it didn't get lost, and made sure the coin was still shiny and clean and gleaming and ready to get back to the master at a moment's notice. He'd shined it, he'd wrapped it, and hidden it away in a safe place. When the master came back, those same hands came and found the coin and unwrapped it and carefully presented it back to the master. Matthew says that he buried it in the ground to keep it safe. It says this in Luke 19, 20 and 21. It says, then another servant came and said, "Sir, here's your mina, or your talent, or your bag of gold. I've kept it laid away in a piece of cloth. I was afraid of you because you're a hard man. You take what you did not put in and reap what you did not sow." And we know the rest of the story, right? The master gets angry at him. He's like, "Oh, so you know who I am, huh? You know that I'm a hard man. You know that I take things that aren't mine. Okay, cool. Well, then if that's the case, if you knew that about me, you should have at least put it in the bank and give me some interest. So guess what? What I gave you, I'm giving the guy with 10 now. Get out of here." And honestly, I've always kind of felt like this dude gets a bad rap. Right? Like, he was careful. And not just careful, he almost like lovingly cares for this valuable coin. He doesn't lose it. He doesn't get it confused with the other coins. He doesn't spend it. He doesn't waste it. He keeps it safe and clean and in a safe place and in a cloth to present it back to the master. He's giving it back the car with a full tank of gas. God, here's my life. I kept it really clean. I didn't do any of those wrong things. I didn't waste my talents or my money on the things that were bad. I didn't spend my energies on harmful things. I didn't, like the prodigal son, like demand my money and then go squander it in alcohol and prostitutes and all the wild living that I could think of. I didn't do any of that. I didn't watch porn. I didn't buy drugs. I didn't even let my life be touched by the world. I kept it wrapped in cloth and buried it to keep it safe so that on your return I could give back to you what belongs to you. But he doesn't get rewarded. He doesn't get praised. He doesn't get a raise. He doesn't get to keep what was entrusted to him. He gets rebuked. He gets berated. And what little he had is taken away from him and given to someone else. He gets humiliated for giving back to the master the same value that was given to him. Why? Why is that? Why is returning it the right way get him in trouble instead of getting him rewarded? Why does Zacchaeus, a man whose hands have done great evil to his people, then get rewarded in sonship? Why does Moses, a man whose hands had committed murder and cover-up, get rewarded with becoming Israel's greatest prophet and leader next to David and Jesus? Why does this servant lose everything that he thought he was saving for the good of the master? Because what was in his hands wasn't his to bury. It wasn't his to bury. It was his to steward. Everybody say steward. Steward. It was his to steward. It was his to care for and to invest. To use. God has given you a life. Not to just keep clean. Hear me, there's nothing wrong with clean living. Okay? There's nothing wrong with keeping yourself like unspotted from the world. There's nothing wrong with trying to be holy. Like we're called to holiness. We're called to set our lives apart. We're called to say, no, I'm not going to live like that. I'm going to live like this because this is how Jesus gave me an example to live, and I'm going to do this. But if that's all I do, if all I do is practice my holiness, which, by the way, the word just means being set apart. If all I do is set myself apart, but don't do anything with the life that God has given me, I wonder if God's going to look at us at the end of the time and go, hey, why didn't you use those gifts I gave you? Why didn't you use the story I gave you? Why didn't you invest the finances that I gave you in the kingdom? Why didn't you use the relationships to bring more people to me? Why didn't you share your life with others? Why didn't you steward what I gave you instead of hide or bury what I gave you? It's a little quiet. One of my pet peeves is that when if I sing or if I play or like, how many of you guys know that like G is a killer piano player, right? Like, totally out. But I have a feeling that like when somebody comes up to me like, it's like, oh man, you can just play. Well, like that just dropped in his lap? Like he didn't work on it? Like he didn't spend hours and days and weeks and months and years practicing? Yes, clearly he's more musically gifted than the average bear, right? Even the cocaine bears that are in movies these days. He's clearly gifted at it, but gifting isn't enough. The world is full of talent. The world is full of gifting. The world is not full of people who use that gifting and steward it well and invest the gift that God has given. See, if you practice a little, you're going to get a little bit. If you invest a little, you're going to get a little return. If you use your life a little, you're going to get a little life back. And I don't know about you, but like I want to maximize. Like it sounds like I'm an investment banker or something. I want to maximize the return on my investment. But I do. I don't know if investment bankers really talk like that or not. They probably talk really cool from their yacht. Because they can. But the truth is, I want to maximize what God has given me. I don't want to get a little good. I don't want to get a little return. I don't want to see a couple people get saved. I don't want to see a little bit of transformation in a neighborhood. I want to see God like go in. I want to see Him like do amazing things through my life. I want to see Him do amazing things through your lives. In fact, I would rather see that than Him do amazing things through me. I would rather see Him wake up the call and the gifting that He's put in your life. I would rather see you share the story that God has given you, because your story is the key that unlocks open somebody that I can't get to. I want to see that. I want to see the kind of transformation that we've just begun to taste here. We've had 3 now MOI Thanksgiving dinners in this room, where hundreds of community members, gang members, and gang leaders have come into this space and stood right here on this stage and given their testimonies. Many of them have said, I've been taking from this community for 30 years. It's time I started giving back. I don't want to take life anymore, I want to give life. We had one guy this week, and he wasn't a gang leader, he was part of our organization, and he said, he talked about how he's been cannabis-free for a year now. That's a big deal, man. Somebody who, like, he called it, he used to wake and bake every day. Just get stoned every morning, every noon, and if you haven't been that person or haven't been around that person, well, they smell bad to begin with. But he talked about that and said, I don't want to be a man under the influence. I want to be a man of influence. Yeah. I told him Sunday I was going to steal it. I just did. Tell him back ago, I just stole his line. The guys come up here and talk about how they didn't believe in what we were doing at first, but now they're being proponents of what's happening. We can celebrate the fact that there hasn't been a gang-related shooting in Memorial Park in almost 3 years now. There's a moment in this story where we got a call, 6 months ago, Don called an emergency meeting? Got to call an emergency meeting. Usually an emergency meeting with these guys means somebody got shot, or there was a drive-by, or there's something crazy going on. We got to figure out how to deal with it before it gets really, really crazy. And this emergency meeting was different. This guy sits down with us, he's like, guys, I don't know what's going on, but the gangs never want to talk with us. The gangs don't want to talk with us. And there's like talk of like a statewide ceasefire. Yeah, and we're not there yet. It hasn't happened. We're in process on this. But this guy who is, let's just say he's not a close follower of Jesus. He's as unreligious as you can get. And in the middle of this meeting, he's like, man, I don't know what's going on. Like, in the last 72 hours, it was like a bomb went off. and everybody wants to drop their guns for some reason. I don't know what it is. He looks across the room at me and he goes, I know what you're thinking. I'm not ready to say it, but you're probably right. Holy Spirit's at work. God is doing something. We get to be a part of that. Every time you serve a tray, every time you serve a meal, every time you give faithfully, every time you show up and clean, every time you do what you do in this space, you're a part of that kind of work. We get to be a part of that kind of work. And as we move into this new neighborhood, we're still maintaining these relationships. We're still doing this stuff. We're still going to be involved with gang work. We're still going to be working with recovery. We're still going to be working with the homeless. We're still going to be doing similar things to what we've done and what the legacy side of the family has been doing for years as well. We're still going to do those things. But here's the thing. I just think we can do more. Let me say it a different way. I know that God can do more. If we will just be available. I was an executive pastor years and years ago, and I got a question that I hadn't gotten before. Someone came to me and asked me about whether they could give a specific kind of gift or not. They wanted to give to a specific missionary somewhere and wanted to know if they could give us a gift at the church, and we could just give that to them. I said, I don't know. Let me just do some research and I'll find out. So I went to the IRS website and looking about designated gifts and that kind of thing, and you would never guess, but I found spiritual wisdom on the IRS.gov page. You know what the definition of a charitable gift is? Anybody know? Jen probably knows. She's heard about the story a couple times. Cheater. That's why she got better grades than me. Cheater. She's also thought it was fun. That's another discussion. The definition of a charitable gift, according to the IRS, is a gift given without regard for its use. It's not my job to choose where my gift gets used. It's my job to be available. It's my job to give back the gift that I've been given. So I think availability is a really, really big part of this. Stewardship is a really big part of this. And the truth is, we don't own anything in this life here. We steward what God has given us. We talk about Pastor, I work hard for this money. Yeah, with the talents, the abilities, and the intellect and the skills that God gave you. Well, I earned this degree, or I saved long and hard for this car, or this house. Yep, you did that. How? With the talents and the abilities and the intellect and the skills that God gave you. And where did those things come from? Well, they came from time. So where did your life come? Where did the breath in your lungs come from? Who gave you the number of days that you've lived so far? Everything we have is the Lord's. Everything we do and have and are capable of and put together and save and practice, all of it is a gift. And it turns out that God understands the definition of a charitable gift too, because it's a gift given without regard for its use. It's not that He doesn't care. It's that He gives us free will to act how we're going to act. Scripture says the gifts and callings of God are without repentance. So you can use them, or you can hide them. That's up to you, but the Lord has given them to you. Everything we can have is His. Everything we do, everything we have, everything we're capable of, all of it is a gift, and all of it flows from one gift in particular. The only thing we really have to give one another is our time, our focus, our attention. It's all we really have. It's the only thing we can't replace. So we have to steward. Everybody say steward. Steward. We have to steward all of our career and education, relationships, money, and stuff. All of that is a result of where we place our time, focus, and attention. So focus really matters. Turn to your neighbor and say, focus matters. So in this little mini series, we've been able to recognize like a few different traps, right? Where we can put our focus, and where people in these stories chose to put the focus. Sometimes you can get ahead of the Lord and No, I'm not going to try because I'm going to be technology averse for now. But you look at the story of Moses, and there's the trap of believing that you can do anything on your own. There's also the trap of believing your hands are unworthy of the gift. We look at the story of Elijah, there's the trap of being self-righteous. Well, I'm the only one out here doing this thing. There's also the trap of forgetting that you're not alone. And the story is the case. There's the trap of judging others and of comparison. Also the trap of, you find in the story of the parable of Talents, is the trap of hiding. The trap of not investing. Again, we've been given a gift, we just have to employ it. So what we've been given to steward, what we have to employ, what we have to care for, what we have to invest, we have to practice, we have to develop, we have to get better, all within the context of God's provision and God's direction. So in this moment, guys, we got to steward this opportunity really well. We have to steward this moment really well. We have to steward the momentum that God is giving us really well. We have to steward the finances and the resources and the property and all the things that God has given us. We have to steward them really well. And we're going to talk more about this in the coming weeks again, but we have the Lazarus Project, by which we're stewarding, by which we're investing in the next generation of storagers, the next generation of legacy building. And as we move 2 weeks from today, everybody say 2 weeks from today. As we move over there, you're going to notice some changes and some improvements. You're also going to notice it's not done. Everybody say it's not done yet. Talked about this last week. A haircut never looks good halfway. So what we're going to do is we're going to have a comb over for a few weeks. Figure that nonsense out for a little while. But we need all of us, guys. Everybody say all of us. All of us. Now say it like you mean it. All of us. We need all of us to get this project across the finish line. There's going to be more details on the project and how we believe this is a long-term strategy for multiplication. But you can get to the project now, and we need that to happen. You can select the Lazarus Project either on, like in the memo line of your check or on the envelope, or if you're giving online, there's an opportunity for you to give towards the Lazarus Project specifically. But we need to be faithful in this season. We need to stay steady. We need to be faithful in our giving and in our focus and in our attention, but also specifically in our finances, so that we can do all that God has called us to do in this season. So, just practically speaking, we were kind of joking around about the sanctuary being ready and one of the bathrooms. We're hoping for all 3 bathrooms. But there's just gonna be some dust for a little while. It's not gonna be all the way ready. Okay? And we went through a season like that in this facility a couple of years ago, and it was really hard. Mostly because the contractors that had been hired by who they had been hired by, they just didn't care. Like they were just on their own timeline, and so we would show up and like our children's classrooms would just be torn apart. There'd be like sawdust and concrete dust everywhere. There'd be water on the floors. There'd be exposed steel studs, exposed electrical and plumbing and stuff. We're like, Shupp on Sunday, like, what do we do with this? So I'm certain that we lost a number of young families in that season because we couldn't control them, but we had no say in the process. And Little Mountain Climbers, the daycare we shared the space with, it was actually their renovation. It's not their fault either. They were trying to get open. It took 9 months to do what was supposed to happen in 2 months. It was just really hard. And so I was really reticent as a leader to put us in that situation. I just didn't want to put us in a position where we were in some space where we felt like we were out of control, or that we weren't going to take care of kids well, or that we weren't going to have access to facilities the way that they should be. Any of those things. I was really, really concerned about that going into this season. And some of our elders and our leaders have said, hey, what if we do this on purpose? What if we do what we can right now and get over there and be able to save some money immediately by not paying rent here anymore? Not paying rent is a good thing, right? Except when you just don't do it because you don't want to. That's another discussion. But why don't we get over there as quickly as we can to save some money and steward that better. And then just let people see, hey, this is what's happened. This is what needs to happen. And so you're going to get over there and you're going to see things that look amazing, and you're going to see things like, what were you thinking? We're thinking it's in demolition mode right now. And it's not done. There's some permits that are taking a little bit longer. There's some asbestos cleanup. There's a couple of different things that are taking a little bit longer than we anticipated. So we're pivoting. We're doing what we know to do and steward resources as well as we can with the information that we have. Like we can't, unfortunately, we don't have the same level of future vision that Jesus does. So it's a really good idea for asking him, right? We're going to pray in just a minute and ask that he would continue to, he would continue to guide us and direct us in this process. But I'm going to invite us to stand right now. And as we get prepared to sing our last song and to give, Scripture says that the Lord loves a cheerful giver. And that each person should decide in their heart what the Lord has told them to give and just do that. So that's really it. That's the way that we talk about money in two ways around here. Three ways. One, what are these resources doing? What are we using these things for? We talk all the time about you don't necessarily give to Story Church, but you give through Story Church for taking care of the community in all kinds of ways because of your faithfulness. So number one, we talk about the stewardship of those things. Number two, we talk about it as simply an act of worship. That us giving is just another, it's like praying, it's like singing, it's like studying the Word, it's just another way that we worship. And number three is that we say, when it comes to, we're never going to ask you for $1. We're never going to ask you for a specific gift or a specific thing like that. What we're going to do is we're going to say, hey, would you take a moment and pray? Would you ask the Lord what He wants you to give, and then just be obedient? That's between you and Him. I don't need to know. Jeff doesn't need to know. G wants to know because he wants to buy a Maserati. But I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. No, that's just not how we're going to do things. You never have, we're not going to twist your arms. So I'm just going to create a moment here. We're going to pray. We're going to ask the Lord to just show us what He wants to do. Does that sound good? Okay. Living God, we thank You for who You are. We thank You that all of our lives You have been faithful to us. We thank You that You are the same yesterday, today, and forever. That You are consistent, that You are trustworthy, that You are good all the time. That You've been good to us in ways that we've seen, in ways that we don't even fully comprehend how good You've been to us. And so in this moment, as we continue to worship through song and through giving, we're asking You to speak to us. Would You show us what You want us, how You want us to participate? Would You show us how we can actually be blessed through the gift of giving? You say, Lord, that it's better to give than to receive. So Lord, would You help us to get that in our hearts, that You are generous and hospitable, and we get to be like You. And Lord, I ask that You would give us divine wisdom and foresight with how we utilize and steward every single penny. But we know that these aren't paychecks and these aren't revenue streams, and this is an act of worship when people give to You. So Lord, would You help us as leaders to steward it in that way? Would You allow us to steward it as worship as well? And so we love You, we thank You, and we honor You for this opportunity. In Jesus' name, everyone said, amen. All right, the ushers are going to come.